Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So over the past couple of days, we've been talking about payment processors and their attempts to censor various video games that have been deemed problematic by various groups like Collective Shout. And today we're going to be talking about MasterCard in particular, who is finding out right now. They have made an official public statement about what's going on and their role in the banning of thousands of video games. And guess what they're doing? They're gaslighting gamers and lying, and they've been caught in 4K, and that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today. Now, before we get into everything, another reminder, I'll keep saying it because YouTube is forcing this upon us. They don't want to count views, even if you watch a video in the entirety. They only count engaged viewers. So if you want to count and help this video get into the algorithm and spread the message around, make sure to like, comment, or subscribe to be an engaged viewer and count in the eyes of YouTube. It definitely makes a difference, so I appreciate that, guys. Keep that up. But anyways, over the past couple of days, there's been a lot of backlash, and rightfully so. We've seen payment processors like Visa and Mastercard get overwhelmed. Their customer complaint lines, they're getting blasted by a lot of people who are very upset about what's going on. Thousands of games banned because groups like Collective Shout have put pressure on these payment processors who are very eager to agree with their demands, and they've banned thousands of games as a result, and people are upset, and they're voicing their concerns, and, well, it's making a difference. It's making them very nervous, and guess what? We got to keep it up. Now, of course, one of the targets is Visa. When it comes to payment processors, it's Visa and Mastercard. That's pretty much it, right? If you lose either of these two or both, your platform or your service is in big trouble. Visa has been feeling the pressure. That is definitely for sure. Okay, and they're showing it. Okay, so we have some testimonies from people who are claiming they've had a very bizarre experience with Visa in particular. So let's read this one right here. This person says, Visa card representative yelled at me. I called this number and simply asked about the content guideline I got, in quotes. We've been getting thousands of calls. You talk to someone, who'd you call? Other people accepted what I said, so why don't you? Here's another crop of examples. This person saying, call Visa, ask about censorship. You need to email us. So can I get a generic email? I like to speak with your manager. Please wait. Picks up. I'm about to transfer you. Okay, yes. You need to go and make an email. Hangs up. Here's another example. I called Visa's customer support service. The guy on the other line was like, are you also calling about the video game payment processing? Please send us emails instead. And they say, keep up the calls, folks. We're definitely gumming up their works. Exactly. And here's one more saying, I wish this was a joke, but I got called an R-word today, an R-worder today by a Visa rep. Think I just happened to be a call that pushed the woman over. Lodged 2 formal complaints after that and spun circles on the 2 calls and was about 25 minutes. And couldn't get a supervisor either. They just hung up the phone. Yeah, you know, the thing is, I believe entirely what they're saying because they're getting flooded. And I don't think the customer support here was ready for this. And imagine getting called an R-worder over the phone by a Visa representative. I believe it. I do. But anyways, who's really the main force behind this? I hate to say it, it's Collective Shout. Now, if you've watched my videos over the past week or so, you know who this group is. But for those who are new, this is a small group of feminists in Australia who have lodged a huge campaign to censor video games and media in general. And they've been ignored for years because they're a bunch of wackadoos trying to push their agenda. But they've been successful recently. Why is that? Well, they got a new strategy, and a winning one, by all admission. They have targeted payment processors. They even admit this in one of their recent statements, where they've been ignored by platforms like Steam for years. But when they approach the payment processors like Visa and Mastercard, things changed. And now they're claiming responsibility for thousands of games being banned or restricted. Okay, this is very important because this group is saying our targeting of the payment processors is what made results happen. And then we're going to see MasterCard in just a second say that never happened. But anyways, another development here is that Elon Musk has shared several petitions to ban certain movements like this. And in particular with Collective Shout, they're trying to share petitions that will silence and try to get rid of groups like Collective Shout and try to stop them from banning thousands of games and having a control over payment processors, right? And apparently Elon Musk sharing messages like this has put Collective Shout in danger. They have released a new statement basically saying that Elon Musk in his actions have put them at risk. Yes, Elon Musk reposting a petition has put their lives in danger, and something should be done about it, according to them. What that thing is, I don't know. Nobody knows, but something has to happen apparently, according to Collective Shout. But now we go to MasterCard. So, we have Visa. They're getting flooded with complaints, and so is MasterCard. And MasterCard is feeling the heat. But in a cowardly way, they responded. Instead of posting this on their main account, they did it on their alternate account, the MasterCard News account, which, by the way, has a gold check mark, meaning they're paying at least $1,000 a month to have that little badge next to their name. So this is definitely an official account. They have released a statement clarifying recent headlines on gaming content. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, your complaints about this have actually shook MasterCard to the point where they felt they had to make some kind of a public statement directly towards gamers. Okay, so they say this: MasterCard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creator sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Keep that one in mind, okay? Keep that sentence about their standards in mind. We'll look at that in just a second. But anyways, it continues on saying, put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. Now, as you might have guessed, this statement has blown up in their face. They got hit with a community note that says both Steam and Itch have stated their removal of adult content came from pressure by payment processors, including MasterCard. Furthermore, MasterCard and other payment processors have a documented history of refusing service to Japanese retailers over legal adult content. And that's something I have talked about ad nauseum on this channel for years. Okay, I don't want to be the guy who sits here and says, yeah, I told you so. But for years, I have pointed out what's been going on in Japan with Visa and MasterCard. There have been groups who have put pressure on these payment processors to remove their services from certain platforms and services that offer adult content. Legal adult content. But these people removed their services anyways because they found that sort of content problematic. And here's the thing. Despite what they're saying in the statement, it goes along with their rules because they have made rules that allow them to basically pull their services at any time, no matter what the content is featured on those services and platforms, as we'll see in just a second. But, of course, they're getting blasted, okay? As you can see, 1.6K likes versus 2.8K comments, and a lot of quotes dunking on them. They are very, very hypocritical. Now let's jump into their claims about how they're not doing this. They're basically gaslighting you and saying, we don't do this. We're not removing games for no reason. We're not doing this. Well, look around. Collective Shout has specifically mentioned their attempts to put pressure on Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal to get games removed. And they have cited this as the reason they were successful in multiple public statements over the past couple of weeks. See here, this was their main attempt a couple of weeks ago on July 11th. They made a new campaign where they targeted and contacted all of these payment processors. By their own admission, they sent thousands of emails to these various platforms, and guess what? It worked. It worked very clearly, to the point where platforms like Steam, who many think are high and mighty and devoid of any pressure from outside sources, no. They added a rule recently saying content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers, in particular, certain kinds of adult-only content. They literally added a rule that says you can't upset the rules and the beliefs or the foundations or whatever of our payment processors like Visa and MasterCard. On top of that, we've seen major news networks like The Guardian covering this. And you know what? I crap on journalists all the time. I get it. I'm very critical of journalists, especially the mainstream media. But good on The Guardian. Good on a lot of games journalism networks who've actually spoke up about this pretty much since the jump. Good on them. Because at the end of the day, we need all the help we can get. If people like The Guardian want to actually cover this in a responsible way and share the message, good on them. And I welcome it. Because right now, this is a serious, serious threat to free speech, freedom of expression, and your rights as a consumer. They are trying everything in their power to take away what you're allowed to spend your money on. They're trying to dictate what's right or wrong and what you're allowed to spend your money on. That should offend you to your core. It really should. It's really frustrating. Like, I'm not trying to morally grandstand here. I'm not trying to get up on a soapbox, but all this is crazy. This has gone way too far, and it's been ramping up for years. But over the past couple of days and weeks, it's exploded. This has gone so far, so fast, and so widespread across the world, it should concern you deeply. But of course, we see some comments from people like Asmongold saying, so all these websites are lying. Collective Shout is lying. Japan is lying. Steam is lying. And actually, the payment processors are doing nothing wrong. What a bunch of BS. The only truth in this is that it's not only Visa/MasterCard, but also PayPal too. And I can tell you horror stories from other content creators who have lost their PayPal accounts overnight because they did something that is problematic. And PayPal says, well, I don't like what you're doing, so yoink. And by the way, they don't just shut down your account when that happens too. They take your money as well. Again, I've seen horror stories. People with thousands upon thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in their PayPal account, poof. Because they made something that is problematic to PayPal. And they say, well, it's in our rights. We can do what we want. It's crazy. And a lot of people are focusing on Visa and MasterCard right now, but do not, I tell you, do not forget about PayPal as well. Savvy, Madam Savvy, who's been doing an amazing job. People like her and Chibi Reviews, and a lot of people, they've been doing really good jobs of spreading the message and really checking Visa, MasterCard, Collective Shout, all these related parties. But she made a nice thread here saying, small thread on Visa and MasterCard for contacting purposes. Be sure to comment on any Visa or MasterCard account or staff account as well. Also, Visa investor contact listed. At Visa and at MasterCard have vague rules and legal speak that should not be allowed. Both use, but not limited to explain their rules. And what she means is, in their guidelines, it says, in relation to or for the purchase or trade of photographs, video imagery, computer-generated images, cartoons, simulation, or any other media or activities, including, but not limited to. It's vague for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. They leave it very open-ended so they can go after whatever sort of content they want. It's super open-ended. It's not just super open-ended. It's completely open-ended. They can do whatever they want. If they think it's in some way problematic or it's going to hurt their brand, they say right in the rules, they can do something about it. And it's even more clear down here, where it says illegal or brand damaging transactions. Number 2, the sale of a product or service including an image which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value, such as, by way of example and not limitation, images of yada yada yada. Again, they use this not limited to language. It's open-ended for a reason. They're basically letting it so, well, if this, in our eyes, lacks some artistic value or is patently offensive, well, we hold the rights to pull our services. They're liars. In their statement, they're trying to say, we don't have any sort of rules on this. They do. They do. They have very open-ended rules that go way beyond the rule of law, by the way. In the United States, this is way beyond the law. They're trying to play God in this situation. They're determining what is okay and what's not okay. And they couldn't be any more disingenuous in their statement. They're completely lying to you, right to your face. And you can see my reply to this where I said, resorting to blatant gaslighting now, huh? Yeah, they're nervous. Keep up the pressure. That is the point, okay? Just because they're starting to fold, they're seemingly nervous, that does not mean you take your foot off the gas pedal. This is the time to go harder because they're clearly nervous. They're putting out the statement that is gaslighting you. They're lying to you right to your face, and they think you're so stupid, you're just going to accept it. Well, guess what? We're not falling for it. And this is the time where you go even harder. You contact them, and you make your calls, you send your emails, you make complaints, because they're aware of this, and they're nervous about it. And I will say this again. If you're going to contact them, I really think this is important. Be respectful. Be stern, but be respectful. Have a game plan. Have something prepared that you're going to say. Have legitimate complaints. Don't go in and cuss them out. Don't do anything like that. The people who are picking up, I don't care how rude they are to you, you go the high road. And if you want, document what's happening. Because we're hearing stories, but it would be even better if we had documentation of how these people are treating concerned customers and people calling in and contacting them with concerns with these recent policy changes and what they're doing and their role in banning thousands of video games. Be respectful, have a plan, and also document what's happening. That is kind of the main thing if you're going to contact Visa or Mastercard. And I encourage anyone who wants to follow that sort of guideline to do so. I think it makes a difference. I think it makes a big difference. This is how we got to this point. Contacting Visa and Mastercard and going through this process is how these games got banned. We should use the same process to make some accountability here and try to basically turn this whole thing around. And speaking of turning things around, itch.io, which is the indie game marketplace that has been targeted by Collective Shout, and they basically folded on their own volition. They heard the threats from Collective Shout, and they said, okay, we're going to start banning some stuff. But now they're having a little bit of a change of hearts. They have made a statement saying re-indexing adult not safe for work content. And they say that they're going to do a different way of doing things that will cut out the concerns of Collective Shout. They'll cut out some of these payment processors, and they're going to try to find different solutions to all of this, which is a good first step. Okay, that is something we should be congratulating this company for, itch.io. At least they're trying to correct they're instant folding to groups like Collective Shout. And if everything feels like we're in an episode of Shimonetta at this point, it really does feel like it. Okay, this anime is supposed to be based on the year 2030. We're only 5 years away, and it's starting to really feel like it. You know, people are clowning on this like comparison, but like, no. This anime is about a time of 2030 where basically the government has gotten so overly infatuated with censorship that basically nothing can exist without being censored and toned down in some sort of a way. And the people fighting back, the quote-unquote terrorists in this anime, are people who are just free speech advocates, right? That's how it feels right now. Especially across the world, we're seeing all these restrictions and bans going on. It's a concerning time. But don't worry. The usual bootlickers, like this person, are saying, quoting Chibi, who pointed out this comparison, saying, "This is hilarious. The lolicons who love to tell people they don't know the difference between fiction and reality when they sexualize lollies believe that Shimonetta is becoming real life. This is the most delusional thing I've ever seen. Anti-censorship goofballs are crazy." Well, the thing is, a lot of it started with censoring lolly type stuff, and people said, that's good actually, because I think that stuff's weird, and censorship of that's fine. And guess what? It's a slippery slope. It goes to other things that people now do care about. And just because you don't like something in fiction doesn't mean it should be censored. That's a mistake many people have made. But this wackadoo is saying that people like Chibi are delusional because they're able to see the message from Shimonetta and apply it to real life while also understanding that drawings are not real. They're saying that's delusional. Brother, you just admitted you're delusional. Like, this is the level of craziness we're dealing with. But anyways, long video. Sorry to ramble on so much, but I care about this stuff. I know you guys care about this stuff. It's a big mess right now. And yeah, hopefully we can fight back against this, because this is a very dark road we're heading down. A very censor-happy road that no one should support. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.